Hi, Dan Edmondson here with another tip of the week. I want to talk about canvases today, and canvas or panels or any what's called a support. A support is anything you put paint on, and there's some pretty good reasons to have certain types of supports, and I'm going to try to cover those right now. And the first off is I just want to talk about canvas type, right? And then after that we'll talk a little bit about panels. But what happens, what I see, is a really humongous reoccurring issue for artists is that they will paint on store-bought canvas, okay? And the reason that that is generally bad is twofold. One, it's super absorbent, and second, it has a ton of grain to it, or what I want to say, the weave is really strong. And if you are a seasoned painter who uses a lot of paint when they paint, they get away with that. But most newbie painters, and you know, when I say newbie, I mean people have been painting as long as even 20 years, and sometimes they just don't really catch that. So what I want to talk about that is the why. What happens is, let's say you've got a paintbrush, and you're going to come in. I don't have anything that looks like a paintbrush, but let's say you're going to come in and you're going to make a brush stroke right here. What happens is you make a brush stroke across the top of your canvas, and it sits right on the top, okay? Maybe I can illustrate that with a little box here. So what happens is that paint sits on the top, and then what happens as the paint starts to dry, the oil gets sucked down into these little valleys right here, okay? And what that does is it takes all that beautiful paint up there and pushes it down and kind of flattens it out. And that's for two reasons. One, because the canvas is so absorbent, and that's typical with acrylic gesso. And also it is, the weave is so strong. So another thing, and then I'm going to give you one more reason why this is bad. Let's say that you are licking it down, and what that means is going over the same brush stroke over and over and over and over. When you do that, all you're doing is pushing the paint down into these valleys, okay? So then when the paint dries, all the oil is absorbed into the gesso, and what it looks like, instead of a painting, it looks like a colored canvas, where you almost don't see any brush strokes at all, or you see very few. Instead, it just looks like someone's colored the canvas, almost like as if it was airbrushed or something. So if you were to go in and put a couple coats of even acrylic gesso over this, what happens is it fills in these gaps, okay? So let's take this and say we're going to put in I have to fix some here on this to get the tool I want. So let's say you're going to come in and you're going to put another layer of gesso on here. And then what's going to happen is it's going to kind of fill in these gaps, these holes, or three. I like 3 layers. And then now what happens is you come back in with your painting and you're going to paint on it, and it is going to have more of a tendency to stay on the surface. So what does that mean in the final painting? What it means is the paint is going to sit on top of the surface, and you're just going to retain the integrity of the brush stroke, okay? And it'll look more like a painting and less like a colored canvas. Now, unless you like the look of a colored canvas with no brush strokes, I suggest if you use store-bought canvases, put 3 or 4 coats of gesso on it, and then at the end sand it kind of smooth, and then your paintings are going to look so much richer because the paint will sit up and it'll sit on the surface, and you'll see the brush strokes, and it'll make you look like you're really clever. Now, you still can lick it down smooth, but it's a lot harder when you're working on a smooth surface. Now, the only other thing you can do is you could work on panels. Take some masonite panels or MDF board and paint 2 coats of gesso on it, and then lightly sand it, and you'll get the same kind of surface, even smoother. And that works real nice too, keeps the paint on the surface. Thanks for listening. This is Dan Edmondson, the tip of the week. Do me a favor and spread the word. Let people know on Facebook all about my tips. Have a wonderful day.